Miles Davis said it's not about notes. You can only play one note, bro. But if you play that note really well, it sounds fucking amazing, man. So that's the thing, in my opinion. I'm also I consider myself, I not even consider myself like kind of session musician, man. I consider myself as a producer, man. Got the taste and the stuff. I know what I want from my sound. And when I'm in the studio with the band, I know what I want from the guys.
What's up, everybody? Toru here. Today's conversation is special to me because it highlights and is a really nice continuation of our previous conversation with Matt Wyatt around the importance of finding your own voice and artistry as opposed to quote unquote mastery. And in addition to that, we really dive into the importance of, having the courage to do that, as well as the importance of relationships, treating people well, and being a good person who is a musician and not being a good musician above everything else. This artist has collaborated with the Yancey Boys, with DJ Harrison, friend of the show Brain Orchestra. So there is a lot here in terms of all of that and deep love, relationships, collaboration, and being kind. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Alsogood.
Don't know if people know this about you, but you started out a little bit more as a b-boy and a dancer. So I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you got started that way.
Oh yeah, it was kind of funny because I started dancing when I was 12. Just walking through the street, just seeing these guys dancing, and I said to myself, yeah, I'll go there. So I go meeting these guys, started dancing with them, and then I danced like for 6-7 years at least. And my teachers, the oldest b-boys, already producing stuff, so already had samplers, already had like a huge record collection. So I get into that, start collecting records, start making beats at the same time, and then it was kind of easy from moving from breakdance to production. So I started making beats, basically hip hop beats. And when you dancing, you dance on a lot of funk, soul music, breakbeat music, and stuff. So it was kind of easy to find the right records, and to basically making a culture in music. Just studying and collecting the right records, the right bands. So that's how I started. So basically, the dance getting into music. So that's it, basically.
Yeah, and so what was it about the dancing that pulled you in, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. Like, it was kind of natural. The dance, is part of hip hop culture. So it's like the a discipline of hip hop. We got hamsing, we got DJing, we got writing and b-boying. So it was kind of easy because I also rapping a lot. I did some writing and graffiti. I mostly cover all the discipline of hip hop. So then I fell in love with music. Music was always like kind of a center for me. So then when I left b-boying because I had some injuries, and then I just turned everything and put everything in music.
Yeah, do you remember what were the first like producers or songs maybe that you were dancing to that made you say like I need to start making beats?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like De La Soul stuff. We used to dance a lot of De La Soul, like Keeping the Faith on their first album or the second one, I don't remember now. Or lots of A Tribe Called Quest. So lots of hip hop as well, but lots of funk disco like Manu Dibango, Jimmy Bohorn, like Dance Across the Floors, kind of classic. That my teacher had a great taste in music. So I usually go into his iPod, stealing his iPod, and reading the title tracks and stuff. So yeah, but De La Soul, it's basically the first rap group, I basically know about through breakdancing.
Yeah, how do you, so as somebody who is a dancer and really feels music physically first and that's your starting place, do you do you feel like that, to what extent do you feel like it influenced the way that you made music? Were you making music that you wanted to dance to? Were you making music that you just wanted to put on headphones to, that you wanted somebody to rap on?
Oh, I think like dance influenced me in the melodic stuff, in the melodic part of music, because I'm also Italian. So we in Italy we have kind of melodic music tradition, pop melodic stuff. We're kind of heavy on
Mm.
these, but in particular like music like De La Soul, but also some Brother Johnson Stomp, or just Dance Across the Floor, like of Jimmy Bohor, had this massive, melody, like main melody, like massive hooks uh, on some huge breaks, and basically also keeping the faith by De La Soul got that whistle.
Mm.
So it was like the melodic thing, because my music is a lot melodic. I try to build a melody every time, something that can stick to with people. So yeah, melodic is the thing. I think uh, I found that, like, I discovered about melodies starting by breakdancing. So and Italian music. I'm kind of also a huge lover and fan of 90, 80, 90 Italian music. Uh, so that's it. Basically, the melodic part is what influenced me more.
Interesting. That's really, so I guess like, and when you start out you're sampling vinyl mostly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so yeah, how do you know when you find something that can work? Like, because this is, you didn't have a musical background before you started producing in terms of making music,
Yeah.
right? So how did you learn to identify samples that work when you're starting out?
Okay, cool. Because I listened to so much hip hop, basically.
Mm.
From DJ Premier, Pete Rock, A Tribe Called Quest, QT, but also funk, and all these guys sampling, funk soul records, jazz records. So I kind of I trained my ear listening to hip hop. So I tried the first step. At the first time, I tried to emulate what I hear. So I kind of try to making the same beats of Primo, of beat rock. When you start making something, you just copy, and just train yourself by copying the stuff you hear, or if you, or yeah, just you listen to. So it was kind of trying to emulate like my idols at the time, like DJ Premier, Pete Rock, and blah blah. So I start training my ear, and I start collecting records, listening to lots of records. I was very young at the time. I was like 13, 14. Start making beats with my first computer. What, like Windows 98, kind of trash stuff like this, with like some old Acid Pro with Sony. And at the first time, I didn't know even how to chop samples and stuff. Just looping, put some breaks on it. That was basic, like it was in the beginning. So I think also the looping the stuff, it was helped me. It's looping the stuff, what is what helping me a lot to build some musical muscles memory, in terms of how a melody works, how a loop works, how the loop is worked. So basically that's it.
Who told you? Did somebody tell you to copy beats, or were you just like, well, I guess this is where I'll start?
No, it was not like I have to copy these. It's
Mm-hmm.
because I love Premiere, love Gangster, man. I want I want to sound like this, man. When you're young, you want to sound like this. Yeah, it's kind of also for Dilla, man. Lots of people, copying Dilla groove. Like nowadays, we got Dilla drum in pop music, in everything basically. Like the Dilla timing is now worldwide. Like cats studying this in private music school like Berkeley. They had some master class and lessons teaching you Dilla. So it was mostly a thing like, I want to sound like Primo. I want to sound like Petro. These beats are dope. I want to make the same beats. So yeah, it was not I have to copy this. It's just because I was listening every day like to this kind of stuff. So that's the reason I decided to, start it. And I had no other resource to make my skills better, make better at this. Just trying to emulate the sound, like try to emulate the drum program. Okay, my drum sounds so whack compared to Primo. Maybe I have to put some compressor, some stuff, and then I start working, with compressor and things, So yeah, just because I would love to sound like my idols. So that's it basically.
Right. It sounds like it was a really conscious decision to copy as a means to learn how they were doing what they were doing, so
Yeah,
that you could make your own thing eventually.
definitely.
In the same way that somebody learning an instrument would learn to play songs
Of
or
course.
licks, etc. Right. Very cool, man. So you mentioned the Dilla piece, and I'm curious about, are there things that, like you just mentioned, the timing and the sound of the drums and things like that are pretty pervasive and things that we hear in pop music. I'm wondering if there may be things personal to you that maybe don't get talked about as much about Dilla that you think people could appreciate more. The things that you individually really love about Dilla that think are really cool about what he did.
In terms of song you released.
It could be a song, it could be something in general, like his sound. It could be specific songs that you love.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if there are specific things to you that maybe you feel like don't get talked about or appreciated about Dilla that you think are special.
Yeah, I think like now we almost know everything about Dilla universe, and people wrote books, people talk lots of interview, some friends of him, talk about him, the process. We got a documentary in New York Times, so we kind of know almost everything about Dilla. I love the fact, and I found kind of funny the fact that even if it was a hip hop cat, massive hip hop lover, and funk lover and record collector, but he basically made beats for rappers. The thing I found it really fun, and that nowadays jazz musicians play hip hop thanks to Dilla stuff. And there was a time like the first 2000, at least in Europe, maybe in US it always worked different, where jazz, okay, you make hip hop, you don't play like an instrument. So there was kind of argue between jazz musicians and hip hop producers. Man, we play instruments, you just use machine and blah blah blah. And it was funny because years later, now we can see Robert Glasper and full band playing Dilla at Blue Note with the bass, with the drum, Chris Dave on drums, their coach on bass, like insane musicians. I mean, so that was funny because the guy was straight hip hop pads. He had lots of jazz cultures. He played cello and stuff when he was young, but he was kind of rude hip hop cat, going to strip club, making beats, kind of that OG hip hop, man from Detroit that is, is kind of far from, jazz musician attitude. Not so much because, jazz musicians are so hardcore as well. So they also did like, especially in the 50s and 60s, they had such a difficult life, through
Mm.
drugs and stuff. But in terms of music, I found this thing funny, uh, now, unfortunately, now we have like a mix of these. We got jazz and hip hop, blending together. uh, I think this is a great thing. This is one of the things that make me most laugh about him, because basically was a hip hop cast making beats in his basement with his homies and stuff. Nothing to do with jazz. And now Dilla is on everything, man. You can hear Dilla
Mm.
on every type of music because and every kind of new drummer would like to play like Dilla. So
Mm.
that's the thing. That's the curious thing about it. But I love everything about him. It's kind of great producer, uh, insane musician. Kind of very, mm, like he don't think a lot, just make the music. It was very, you know, like kind of genius man, just going through his instinct. So
Mm.
yeah, it was kind of instinctive, like Madlib.
Mm. It sounds like you feel like he's a genius not because of maybe like his IQ, but because of his ability to follow his instincts and
Yeah,
what he naturally
definitely.
felt.
Definitely, music.
Yeah.
Music is instinct. Is instinct basically. Is not what you feel. It's not what you play. You play what you feel. You don't play what
Mm.
When you play something, you don't even. Sometimes you don't even think about what you're playing. You're just playing, and if it sounds good to your ear and to your heart, and to your deep feeling, is then you watch the keyboards or your instrument. Okay, okay, maybe I did this shit.
Mm.
Um, so that's the reason I love music, because
Mm.
you have to stay true to your feelings and to your to your deep deep parts about you, about yourself. So this is super important. Uh, and there are certain things you can't study, man. I don't know. I played with lots of people that studied lots of more than me, but they don't have the
Mm.
feelings. They don't have the ear train to play this kind of thing. They can play like
Mm.
Misty, they can play standard, they can play pop stuff, but some kinds of hip hop melted with jazz is not easy to be played, and to be proposed, because you have to listen a lot of this thing.
Mm.
So, and it's also made by instinct at first, chopping sample, putting drums, blah blah blah, just adding bass, making beats. You have to be fast, but fast and also effective. I don't know how to say. No, kind of. You have to have some impact when you make this kind of thing, because mostly of
Mm.
this music is loops, bro. So you just loop, uh, and we got loops since we had James Brown. James Brown taught us how to loop the stuff. If you took a James Brown composition, it's basically a loop pattern, like pattern loop repeating. Pam, 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 pam. So for hours, man. And it's kind of, crazy. You can dance on this stuff like for hours. It's basically four notes, pentatonic, bam, bam, bam. It's
Mm.
kind of crazy, man. It's kind of dope stuff. These loops, there are loops, and hip hop, is basically made by loops. So that's the great thing, in my opinion.
Man, I have to ask while we're on the Dilla thing, because you have that song with the Yancey Boys.
Oh, yeah.
So
Haha,
could you
yeah.
tell us the story? Yeah, man, which was a dope. I mean, yeah, everybody, please go check that. And so, can you tell us the story? I mean, I must have felt crazy to get connected and to have that song out. So I'm super curious about the story, given how how much you love Dilla.
Yeah, I was 24 at the time, or 23, and basically I founded this trio called Figura with my mates, Alessandro Polio on keyboards, Emanuele Tria on bass, and we decided to make this record because we love beats and hip hop, melt with jazz, blended with jazz. So we start producing this record, so we start producing the instrumentals At the first time, it has to be instrumental, like full instrumental. Then we starting adding some voice, vocals, and collabs, and I was connect a little bit with Frank Neat, uh, very intimate friends of Dilla from Frank Dang. Shout out to him. So I used to message with him, sending beats and stuff. Nothing serious, just talking with the guy. He was in LA at the time. So when we had this record kind of ready, I decided to wrote to him. Say, yo, Frank, what's up? We had this record, blah, blah, blah. Send you some beats. You want to rap on it? And he said, yeah, let's do this. So he basically did the first verse and then sent it back to us. I say, bro, this is dope. We need some other verse. Yo, put a second verse. And he said to me, yo, bro, I'm here with Hilla J. Let's put with a verse from Hilla J as well, because at the time they had a group called Yancey Boys. It was Frank and Hilla J. I said, okay, sounds dope, bro. Let's do this. So Hilla J recorded the verse, sent it back. It was kind of sending back and forth the tracks. They sent back the track with Hilla J verse, and then they decided to put Botany Applebaum on hooks as well. She was their tour singer at the time. So we had also Botany, we developed like some kind of friendship with the guys. When Hilla J comes to Italy, we come, to see him. Same for Frank. It was kind of vibe, man. I really like the track. It's a track from 2018, so it's kind of time passed, but I really love the track. Track that contains everything. Contains rap, sample, beats, musical instruments like bass, live keys. So it's kind of full in terms of how I want to play that kind of stuff, Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, congrats on the track. That's so crazy.
Oh yeah.
Were you guys going crazy when that was happening?
Yeah, bro. We were so happy about it. Man, we had Hilla J, we have Frank, we had kind of the Hilla family. Then we started talking. They also introduced them to my Dukes, the mother of Dilla. So it was kind of crazy at the time. I had a couple tracks, to be honest, with Frank, never released, but they're sitting in my hard drive. But yeah, it was such a vibe at the time, and we were young. Our debut album as a trio, having Yancey Boys, and it was great.
Taking a quick break from this conversation with Alsogood to let you know that he was also kind and generous enough to give us a video to add to our ongoing archive, The Practice. In this particular instance, Alsogood shares with us a track that he made at home and then took to the studio, and how those things in the home actually made it into the studio track and how things were added in the studio. So I think for a lot of us who work at home in the box, there's just so much to pick up here. So again, thanks to Alsogood for doing that. This video and all of the other videos that we have are free to subscribers of the podcast, and it is free to subscribe to the podcast. So producerhead.substack.com to subscribe, and we will send you a link to the playlist, producerhead.substack.com. Let's get back into the conversation.
Now you play keys and you have this instrumental project, and I'm sort of curious about if you can talk about how and why you decided to do that, because you're making beats and people are listening to them. You have this collaboration with the Yancey Boys. Like, clearly you have something that's working. So I'm curious about what made you decide to branch out and start learning keys and now kind of doing more full band live projects.
Yeah, it was kind of easy because I used to work with lots of musicians, and when you sit in the studio with musicians, you kind of steal stuff, man. And like my Alessandro Emanuele, one of my intimate friends, they learned me so much about music and how to put my finger on an instrument. So that was kind of necessary for me to have a little bit kind of step up like a level up on my production. So I needed to do that thing. So I started learning bass at first. I had some private lesson with a teacher and stuff. So I started with bass at first, and then I was totally into keys. So I studied actually, like not every day like before, but this study never ending, bro. You you learn every day.
Yeah.
So when I have times, I always into keys, and I love playing keys. So it was kind of easy transition, It was kind of easy to move from beats, or maybe you start making beats, finding a sample, then adding, layering some keys on it, or some bass. Uh, and it also helped me a lot because I had so much music inside that I cannot express with sample, because you have to find the specific samples. Uh, and learning how to make music with instrument, where you have to search, for finding the right things, just playing. And this helped me a lot, to express my myself, basically, what I had inside, and to put out what I had inside through instrument.
Yeah, man, it feels like you're really, really passionate and focused on trying to express yourself through what you make, whether it's production or whether it's playing. And I'm wondering, and you've mentioned the study and the academic piece too, and then so I'm wondering for you how you see the connection between those things, because I do think that a lot of us pursue the academic piece and trying to build chops, and sometimes in that you can forget that the point is to express yourself. And I'm wondering, it sounds like you've been really connected to how do I express what I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, is that something that's just super natural to you, and that's just always been the thing, or did something happen to you and you realized that, oh, like this is the priority? I'm wondering where that comes from for you.
Okay. Maybe explain myself, like, not at my best before, but I not did academic study. I had some private lessons with teacher, so I'm not into academic. But lots of my friends comes from academic school of music, and things. And as I told you before, I don't really feel a connection between these things, because at the end of the day, you have to play this kind of stuff. They don't teach you these things in the academic. You have to learn by yourself how to express yourself on the instrument, and what kind of music you would like to play, because they don't teach you a Tribe Called Quest in the academy. They can teach you kind of James Brown or jazz. So at the end of the day, you have to listen to music, and find your own path, find your taste, and develop your taste as much as possible, to become great at what you do. So I can really find a connection between academic school and how to express yourself through instrument. Music theory and harmony cool that, of course, but at the end of the day, it's the heart, man. I don't know what to say, man. It's feelings. It's about feelings. Miles Davis said it's not about notes. You can only play one note, bro. But if you play that note really well, it sounds fucking amazing, man. So that's the thing, my opinion. I'm also I consider myself, not even consider myself like kind of session musician, man. I consider myself as a producer, man. Got the taste and the stuff. I know what I want from my sound. And when I'm in the studio with the band, I know what I want from the guys. So it's basically have a sound direction that is the most important thing for me, and it should be clear. And you also, as a producer, have to find the right instrumentalist that play the stuff. You cannot ask to any trumpeter to lay some trumpet on your music. because not all trumpeters could play what you want to play, what you want to record, so record. So basically, it's all about taste, man, in music. I think, yeah.
Yeah. I also feel like for you, man, when we think about a little bit of this, just going from dancer to producer to instrumentalist and band producer at this point, there is, I would say, from the outside, there's courage in that, man, because every time you're just kind of leaping into this thing, and like you said, you did take lessons, but you didn't necessarily, and you've been learning through doing, but you didn't follow a traditional route that was like, okay, now you've completed this step, now go to this step. It just sounds like I want to do this, and I did that.
Hmm.
And I guess the reason I'm asking about it is because I think for many of us, I think it's challenging to follow our instincts or what's interesting to us simply because we want to, and we feel like maybe we're not ready because we don't have maybe the background or the support. So I'm wondering if you can speak to, like, I don't know, what is that about you that you're just like, I'm just going to go do this,
Okay.
because it's a really cool thing.
Man, I love music. I love music so freaking
Mm.
much. So this is the first reason. And I also try to, every time, I try to go out of my comfort zone. I have to be like, sometimes, during my first days learning instrument and stuff, I try to be the worst musician in the room because there's no other reason there's no other way I can learn. If you're the best in a room, bro, like go out of that room, go in a room where you can learn. You know what I mean? So I always try to learn something, be open minded and see what other people and musicians I respect doing. Um, yeah, it's kind of courage thing, You said right, you said it right, but also I'm, lots of people, especially in arts and music, feeling so much pressure and fear of being judged and stuff. Maybe they had such bad experiences or things like that. I don't care about this thing. I go everywhere. I can sit in a room with fucking Herbie Hancock, man, feeling comfortable because I have lots to talk with him. I'm kind of sure because I have music culture. I study music, man. I know records. I know the records where he played, so I can sit with him and tell, yo, man, crazy soul on that album, and you kind of building a vibe with the guy you're in the room with. If you got some culture, you don't necessarily have to be like a virtuoso or some kind of stuff, to talk with musician as well as with producer. You can sit with the other dread and don't feeling, pressure at all. Just trying to build some vibe and be humble and learning. That's the first thing in my opinion. Sometimes you go in some studio session, people want to express or to free their ego, but ego is gonna to stay out of that room, bro. When you work on something, you have to learn from each other in the room. So yeah, that's the thing for me, man. I sitting with my guys or my friends and or other musician, other producer, and try to learn and ask lots of questions. People love to answer to questions, man. So talk with people, ask, yo, man, wow, how you do this? Yeah, what's this plugin? What's this shit? So yeah, there's people love to explain, and it's kind of easy to create a vibe and learn, and they also can learn from yourself. It's kind of exchange. This is the greatest thing in art, in music, in my humble opinion.
Man, that's a gem. I mean, to even use like an example like Herbie, I think that's a really, I don't know, man. I mean, that has to be at least a small part, if not a big part of your success and like what you've been able to experience. Because to look at musicians who are maybe more skilled in a certain way or more knowledgeable in a certain way, but to not be focused on that gap between your skill level and somebody else's, and to be more curious in general about what you can learn, about what you can share, and also to be focused on the common ground. Like, I'm such a big fan and I'm so familiar with this person's work that I can talk to them about the records and they can understand that,
Definitely.
yeah, maybe I can't play this, but I am on the level in my own way because of my deep love, appreciation, and curiosity about this. And I think that's a really beautiful way to look at it, man.
Yeah, definitely. You have to go to do your homework, man. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of important in terms of practicing, in terms of studying, in terms of learning. And you know, at the end of the day, we all different, man. I'm not feeling competition with anyone. Uh, as soon I enter in a room, I feel kind of cool because you know I don't feel pressure, I don't feel competition. I want to go out of that room with the best result. So if we have to make a song, so we're five, 6 people in a room, I'm
Mm.
cool, man. Let's go into the room and try to put out the best song ever we can make, so that's the reason. Music is at the center for me. The
Mm.
other things are, just distractions. So that's it for me. So it could be Herbie, it could be just an underground producer, could be everyone, just building, just talking to people, be humble, learning, and you can learn a lot. And you can, of course, if you're humble, if you want to learn, you will learn, bro. If you want to study the how to play music, you can do it. Just be curious. Yeah.
Really cool, man. So, I do. It's an interesting thing to me because I'm curious if there is a connection because you got into music as a dancer,
Hmm.
and there's something public facing about that, and there's also something really group oriented about that. And the production piece is something that can be a little bit more isolating and solo because you can do it yourself, right? If you're sampling records and you got your MPC or your computer or whatever you're using
Hmm.
to make beats. And then I'm wondering if that collaboration and that live piece is something that's really important to you because that's what kind of exists in this live band thing that you're doing now, right? Where it's like now you're in the room with people and instead of dancing, you're playing the music.
Hmm.
Is there a thing about that where it's like you prefer are you somebody who prefers the time alone, or do you is the community piece and being live with other people your favorite thing about music?
I think it's kind of 50-50. I love to work alone,
Mm.
making some music alone, then brought the piece into the studio with the band to arrange it, or I can work starting from zero with the band in the studio. It's kind of the same for me.
Mm.
uh for my latest 2 albums, I started working in my studio, or sometimes with the guys, sometimes alone, because I had to write all the composition. So making the chords and writing the main melody, and making the production as well, playing the bass, playing the things. And then when I was at like 70%, 80% of the job, I go to the studio with the band to arrange the stack, stack flutes, stack trumpet, and every other instruments I cannot replace with plugin, man. So
Mm.
I'm kinda easy in both ways. uh I love make where you're alone, you in the room making music is kind of cool, but at the same time you have no people to sharing the emotions with. So I always love to have Alessandro or some other cat friends of mine to share the vibe. Say, bro, feeling the vibe of the shit. So it's kind of cool to have people in the room to share. Uh, but it's also cool to working alone, making music, vibe alone. So it's basically the same thing for me. I love both of these ways of approaching music.
And is this stuff on your most recent album,
Hmm.
is that stuff that you produce by yourself and then you take a recording of that to a band and you're like, now we need real flutes, for instance? So was it like a VST flute or was it another instrument?
Yeah.
Or is that not what's happening at all where you have maybe less of that arrangement that we're hearing on the record?
Yeah.
and then it becomes what it does more just organically while you're in the
Yeah,
studio.
basically for this new album, I did like 80%, 90% of the production and writing at my home on the studio basically, I had a whole studio at the time. Um, so just basically I also had also the main themes already wrought with different instruments as you said. So instead of flutes I had some clavinets melody, and then we
Mm.
replace it with flutes or with, you know, I love to put some melody with clavinets with massive reverb and stuff, kind of singing, you know.
Mm.
So I had this the basically the track finished. So when we saw each other in the studio, when we met in the studio, it was kind of because of making drums. Because on this album, I on every track I have both programming and real acoustic drums layered on every tracks.
Mm.
So you got that
Oh, really?
electronic punch, but you also got the real feels and dynamic of having a real drummer playing. So we met in the studio to make the drums and to record the flutes, that, you know, the flutes and saxophone. Um, because I had the melodies, I had all the hooks, but you know, a specific choice for this album was to having a sax player and a flute player. Shout out to my man Callum Connell, who played all the flutes and sax. You know,
Oh, really?
when you write your melody, and as you say, you use these different instruments because you don't have trumpet in your studio, or
Yeah.
you can play trumpet or sax. It's kind of crazy to see them came to life. I don't know, to see, you know, see the
Yeah,
light,
I'm sure.
man, because you had so much stuck in your mind. You had lots of, you imagine it, the final result. So when it's time to record, and you know everything starts, you know, developing in that way, in the specific way you think it before, it's kind of crazy, man. Well, I was so happy because it when we recorded the saxophone and the flutes, it was, you know, kind of next level because it was like I had in mind. The results was like on point, so super happy.
That's beautiful, man. And so, is it? Did you say Callum Connor, like from the Free Nationals, was playing on
No,
it?
no, Callum Connor from Secret Night Gang, saxophone and
Okay,
flutes from Manchester. He live in London since
cool,
10 years. And you know,
cool.
he had this great group, soul street group called Secret Night Gang. They releasing through Brownswood recordings, that, you know, the label of Joyce Peterson. Uh, so yeah, crazy musicians, man, crazy sax player, crazy human
Yeah,
being. Yeah, yeah, love him.
that's dope. Yeah, I don't know them. I have to check them out.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I'm curious about how do you decide who you're gonna work with or who you're gonna have on records?
Oh, this is cool. So basically, Alessandro Poglio is, you know, he was only part. He was also part of Figura, my first trio. We're super friends since
Mm,
10 years. Uh,
that's awesome.
Made lots of music with him, lots, like almost of my music, because I think one of the best keyboard player, piano player I know, at least in Italy. And he also have the, we know we got the same taste, we think the same things. And it's kind of, I don't know to say, it's kind of telepathic stuff. I don't know I don't know to say if it's the right word. Kind of, you know, we're on the same mind level. So sometimes I don't even talk to him. You know, just, you know, bro, just turn on the piano, play something. I know it will be good because I know he knows me very well, and I know him very well. So it's kind of easy for us, and we make this also insane producer, and we made lots of music together. So Alessandro is with me since years, basically. Also, Emanuele is a great bass player. He played two bass on this album. but he's one of my closest friends as Alessandro. He was also on Figura Trio, and we grew up in the same hometown, South Italy. So because we basically grew up together. Uh, and then I found like a couple of years ago this drummer called Pierpaolo Tancredi, very young drummer. It's like from 2000, man, super young. And just saw him, just seeing these videos where he play. I said, yeah, the guy got the chops. I have to reach him out. He knows me. So I write to him. I said, bro, I'm a big fan. Of course, I want to work with you and stuff. So he started work with me like since 2 years, like the latest two albums. And also Callum, I know the Secret Gang stuff, and I also needed that kind of UK vibe on my album because UK is now the place for the kind of thing, for the specific jazz hip hop infused sound. So I know lots of saxophonists and flautists in Italy, but Callum lived London every day. He played with the right cats, he played with Kurgan Bean, and great musicians. And he also can play, man. He got chops on that saxophone. He's insane. He's also that kind of saxophonist, that don't really, play, and I don't know how to say, like just playing blah blah blah, blah like scales and stuff. He sing, man. He sing. He let his instrument sing. That's what I want. I don't want virtuoso stuff. I want emotion on my tracks. I want a feeling, I want to create feelings for people. I want to go deep with music. So I need something who can sing, who can let their instruments sing, in terms of not too much soloism. So that's it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really makes perfect sense and is right in line with everything else that we've talked about, right? That you're valuing the chemistry and the connection and the feel that you have with people and the relationships more so than are they quote unquote the best player.
Definitely.
And obviously all these people are great players in their own right.
Of course.
It's just that it's more than that why you work with them and what you're looking for when you pick people to work with.
Yeah, I prefer to work with not the greatest musician, but the most accurate, being on time, on session, show up when it's time to show up, because you have to be serious at your job, man. These guys are fucking serious people. So if you not take your job serious, this is an hobby, man. It's not a job. I don't know how to say. You can do this like full time. You have to show up, being serious, going to sound check, rehearsal, and blah blah blah. So this is the most important thing. And also the human side. I don't necessarily need like the insane musician. I need what is right for me in terms of human relationship, in terms of job relation, and of course in terms of music relation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really cool, man. So on to that, because we've kind of talked about instrumentalists, and so I want to ask about, because I know with Brain Orchestra, who's also been a guest on this show, you have an EP and some other tracks with him. Yeah, shout out to Brain Orchestra. And so talk about that chemistry, and how that collaboration came to be.
Man, was kind of crazy at the time. Made me laugh because I think we both started writing to each other like, man, I like your beats, I like your rap, and just work together. So we started working together. We made a single, like I think around before COVID, like 2018. And so we made a single, and we stayed in touch for a couple of years, and we made this album with this EP. I'm sorry, where I made all the beats, and he made all the raps on it. And then I also invited him to Italy because he was touring Europe at the time. So I said to him, bro, come to Milan. Let's organize a gig, So he stayed at my home for 15 days, kind of period like this. We became very very friend, great really friend relationship, uh, great friendship with him. Um, I still, we still talking, not every day, of course, but I'm also sending him. I sent him recently some samples I made, because he's a great producer, man. He's a very great rapper, but he's an insane producer in my opinion. He makes some great beats, great sounds. He's inspired by the greatest, by Evidence, by Hulk. Some of the greatest producers in hip hop. So he got that flavor, got the taste. Drums are on point and stuff. So I wrote to him and say, bro, I got like dozen of samples I made, because I'm working with sample making, making some sample, and sending to producers, because it's a fast way to collab, to get some more jobs on it. And yeah, so I kind of talk almost every day with Andrew. So respect him so much, man. Shout out to him. He's insane, man.
Yeah, he really
Yeah,
is, man. Yeah,
yeah.
that's really dope. And yet, if anybody hasn't heard that project, go check that out. And Brain Orchestra is just a few episodes back if you haven't heard that.
Yeah, vibes.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to ask you, man, was before we get into some other stuff, is your creative diet. Beyond what you listen to in music, because I've heard you say that instead of watching TV, you like to read. And so I'm kind of wondering about how you think about when you're away from music, making music, how you think about kind of keeping things in your head to keep you, well fed in a way, so that it goes back into your music in a way that's productive and feels, the way you want it to feel.
Yeah. I love reading books. I also love, go out with my people and just saying bullshit, drinking some beers and stuff. We Italians, bro, we love to talk and say bullshitting. So we love to chat with people and blah blah blah. So go outside for a walk, for having beer with my friends, or reading some books. I love biographies and stuff. But also watching documentaries. I'm not really into like live TV shows, because we kinda use TV as a background here, man. Just TV turned on, don't care about what's on. Yeah, but I think reading, and also playing some basketball with friends, the playground, kind of easy life, man. Yeah, sometimes
What
you
are
have.
some of the
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, man. No,
Oh yeah, sometimes you have to go outside the studio, man. You need to recharge and you know find some inspiration in other things instead of records and listening to other people. I don't use a lot also social networks. Very, very, very little. Like I don't use a lot social. I only use social to post my stuff basically, and to talk with
Yeah.
people I respect, because I don't really like watching what other people's doing, because it's kind of waste of time, man. Instead of watching people, I would like to do the stuff. I want to do the stuff. I don't want to watch people doing it. So I'm not really into social stuff except for connection, for with other people. So that's what I do when I'm outside of the studio.
Well, actually, that's a really interesting point, man. So I think, how do you think you've been able to make it work for yourself? Because I think for a lot of us in the current state of where we are, there's a lot of pressure to be present on social media. And as somebody who's like you just said, hasn't prioritized it, what do you think you've been able to do to compensate for that and move your career forward?
Oh, I make some content sometimes. I make some content when, I make some beats, some very fast beats, but not because I want to expand my audience, but just because I would like to do it, I want to share people. I want to share vibes with people. But if you also look at my Instagram, it's kind of very formal stuff, man. God, you can find my covers, you can find my videos in terms like live session with band or just me making some beats, but almost cover of project I work. And I try to do uh the very essential part of social media, just to be present, like,
Mm.
but not so much like, not oversharing stuff. I use stories, maybe stories, IG stories are cool because you can put as much as you want and sharing with people things, and don't press them on the feed, man. uh,
Mm.
but I noticed that like in US it's kind of work, like social works kind of different. Like I saw
Yeah.
people posting every day, but also other things, like it's Facebook, bro. I kind of, you can see Pete Rock doing a post about New York Knicks, and then the other day about releasing his album. I kind of use Instagram like to post my music only. I don't post my
Mhm.
private stuff or my life, or I want to keep it private, man. I don't want to keep it social, man. I want to like my music be heard, not my person, man. I don't care about what an artist is doing. It's private. I care about his music. In his private life, he can be like a hassle. I'm good, like I'm good, man. I don't care, man. I care about the music. I don't want to even know about what you're doing in your private life, and how many child you have, if you have dogs or cats. I don't care a little. I don't care a lot about these things. But yeah, so I just being essential, but I try to connect with the right people. That's how I can move forward with my jobs. Because when you have the right connection with people, you have some mutual respect with the right people who move things, who get things happen. So I think that's the way. And I also uh like back in the days I used lots of forums or SoundCloud stuff. So I'm kind of well connected with people because at the time before Instagram we got SoundCloud, MySpace, that kind of internet space were really great, man. Because people used to connect, like, okay, we talk on MySpace, then we can meet in real life. So
Mm.
it was kind of different vibe. So I'm kind of old school on this, but it's not. Sometimes job arrives like remotely. I don't know what to say, man. Like you don't even find your you don't even have to find jobs. No, you go outside, speak with someone, have some fun with some people, and then things happen, or go and play a show. Just put some videos of you playing, man. You can get some shows. Just connect with the right people, and you could get a show. You can get seen by other people. So I'm mostly a real relationship guy. Like I love to meet people in person. As I told you, I invited Andrew to my house. Bro, came here, stay like 15 days, making some
Mhm.
beats. I show you the city. Uh, so I prefer that kind of vibe. Also, when I had like collaboration like with DJ Harrison, that was kind of huge for me because DJ Harrison is kind of a big inspiration for my music. I met him at a concert in Milan. Just show up at his concert, and uh, there were not so much people in the concert, like very few attendance. Uh, so we just started talking after concert. I brought to him my records. Say, yo, man, these are my records. So I love your music. You kind of I listen to your music since years. Um, and we building a relationship. We're friends now, man. And that's the reason, like real life vibes. That's what helped me to move forward with my job, to get some new jobs and stuff. Yeah.
That's really cool, man. I mean, it's just so in line with everything that's that you said before, which is about expression, chemistry, relationships. It's really cool, man.
Yeah, I try to express at my best. Sorry, my English is a little bit rusty, so, but
No,
I
you're
hope
good,
you
man.
you understand everything.
No, 1,000%, man,
Cool,
thousand
cool.
percent. And so I guess the one. Let me ask you one more thing, which is, what is? How do you think about success? Like, what is success for you?
Oh, this is such an interesting question. Thanks for asking. Because sometimes
Mm.
people think about success for big billboards, massive playlist support, thousands of followers. Um, well, success for me is being able to wake up every day and make the music I love, being healthy, um, and being able to, you know, show up at gigs, meeting the right people. Uh, this and being able to make a living of my music without without having to make some compromising shit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and at the time when I was not able to living off my music, uh, the my main the my main the main thing I was looking for, it was like, okay, I have to make at least the same money of my 9 to 5. If I can reach that level, I'm good. I don't even want to be like Rick Ross, man. I want to just get out of this job, making the stuff working, um, and I'm good, man. So, and when you're grateful for what you have, it's kind of easy to get even more, from for your music. So that's what success is for me: being healthy, uh, show up, and making music you love, loving your friends, and this is what success is for me. I can wake up, don't even have to run at a job place. I can put a record on, listen, then I go out with my dog and stuff. And then I can, come back to the studio, make some music, and then calling a friend, a musician, and talking about new project. That's it, man. I'm super cool with this. I don't even wanna to make some fucking billboards. But if these things happen, I'm cool with it, man. I'm super open to receive and to give to other people. So that's what success is for me, being happy with what you have, what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that feels like a great place to end it, man.
Thank you, man.
No further questions. Yeah, is there anything else you'd like to say to the people before we get out of here? I know we're going to jump into a session real quick.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Is there anything else you want to share with the people listening before we get out of here?
No, just be true, be yourself, and I'm not the type of guy who give tips to people, but just be yourself, man, and you know, mm, show up to your people you love, and be a nice person. I mean, before being a nice musician, you have to be a nice person. That's what
I love that.
Yeah, that's my line, bro.
Yeah. No, man. So thank you so much, man. This
Thank you for having me.
Toru, man. No, pleasure. Thank you so much for coming through. We are going to jump into a session. He's going to show us a little bit of behind the scenes how he works. So definitely tap in to the practice. And dude, thank you again so much. This is the end of another episode of Producer Head. We will catch you next time.
Yes, sir. Peace.
That'll do it for the conversation with Alsogood. Thank you so much to Alsogood for coming through and sharing these stories and his experience. Thank you for listening. Go follow Alsogood on the socials. Go check out his projects. The most recent one, 1000 Smiles. He's got a deep catalog. Go check it all out. And thank you for listening. We will catch you on the next episode of Producer Head. Peace.